What's up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm your host, Stephen Bardo. Trying a new mic out today, trying a couple different things today. But we had a good show. We'll talk about who's hot and who's not. We'll talk co-Big Ten players of the week and the Big Ten freshman of the week. We'll do a deep dive into the Illini, and we'll talk about a couple different subjects that are affecting Big Ten basketball. Hope you guys doing well. Getting into the heat of it now in January. Love being in this position right now. So in the thick of it. So let's go, y'all. What's good, y'all? I like that intro better. I've got an intro with some different coaches, and some folks aren't happy about that, so I'll try to be politically correct. Screw that, man. That's whatever. Anyway, welcome to the show. I hope you guys are doing well. Oh, let me turn on my airport mode so I don't get jacked up here. All right, there we go. All right, so if you want to join the tribe, that is the inner circle of Bardo's Breakdown, text me 312-847-2739. You see the number scrolling down there. You can also join by going to Bardo's Tribe, BARDOS tribe.com, and get your free copy, a guide to the new Big Ten. I think you'll like it. And then lastly, guys, I'd really appreciate if you'd like, share, and subscribe to this channel, Bardo Media on YouTube. It really helps the growth of the channel. I'm monetized now, so that helps. Every little bit helps. So, and if you guys like this type of content, you think others might like it as well, please let them know. Can you guys do me a favor and let me know how the sound is? Because I'm trying a new mic because my other one was tripping a little bit. So can you send me a comment and let me know that I'm sounding okay to you and that I'm coming through clearly? I really, really appreciate it. All right, let's get into it. Co-Big Ten players of the week: Peyton Sandfort of Iowa and Vlad Golden of Michigan. You see the numbers there for Peyton Sandfort. He was 10 of 19 from three. And the funny thing is, in the Nebraska game that Iowa won at home, Peyton Sandfort didn't hit a shot in the first half. He was scoreless, and then he went nuts in the second half. 30 points. Hold on, let me make sure. He had 30 points against Nebraska, scoring 30 after halftime. So that was quite a performance from Peyton Sandfort in wins over Nebraska, and then they won again. They blasted Indiana yesterday. That's a team I don't quite understand right now. I'm not sure that Mike Woodson does either. And then the other co-Big Ten player of the week is Vlad Golden. And Vlad's been playing well all season. He's been much more aggressive than I remember seeing him at Florida Atlantic. And so thank you, Carol Paul Paquette. Appreciate that. Chuck Gino Chio, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, Vlad Golden has been balling, man. Averaging 27-7 in their wins over UCLA and Washington. He was dominant in Pauley Pavilion when the Wolverines went on their West Coast swing and beat UCLA, and then they handled business against Washington 91-75. So those are your co-Big Ten players of the week. The Big Ten freshman of the week is Wesley Yates from USC. 16.5 points and 5 rebounds per game, average between their loss at Indiana and then their win at Illinois. And Wesley Yates had a really good game against the Illini. I thought he was solid. Had a team high 18 points. No, that's not right. He had a game high 18 points in USC's loss at Indiana. And then he had 15 points and 6 rebounds in their 10-point win at Illinois. So those, your Big Ten co-players of the week: Peyton Sandfort, Iowa; Vlad Golden, Michigan. Your Big Ten freshman of the week: Wesley Yates of USC, and a well-deserved award for all three of those players. Congratulations, guys. on a job well done. All right. Who's balling right now? The Purdue Boilermakers are on a 5-game win streak, guys. And they are at their opponents' points per game are at like 60 points per game. Defensively, they're just taking teams apart. They took Northwestern apart. Yesterday, they blitzed Nebraska. I was quite surprised by that outcome. Defensively, Matt Painter told me after Purdue lost to Texas A&M and to Auburn, and the way they got physically manhandled, they had to go back to the drawing board and become much more physical, much more focused on the defensive end. And as a result, their offense has come a lot easier because they've really cut the water off on Brooks Barnheiser and Nick Martinelli. They struggled mightily. Bryce Williams couldn't get anything going yesterday. Bryce came into the game Bryce Williams of Nebraska came in as a second leading scorer. And I believe he had 8 points, 9 points, most of them from the free throw line. Purdue did a fantastic job of cutting off his water. So the Purdue Boilermakers in their 5-game winning streak are playing outstanding basketball. Another team that is playing well is the Michigan State Spartans. I believe they've won 9 in a row. Hold on, let me double check. Yes, the Spartans have won 9 in a row. And they go to Northwestern yesterday and win by 10. And it really wasn't close. Northwestern kind of led early. And then once Michigan State got the lead, they never relinquished the lead. They were up 20 plus at portions of this game. And they won by 10, but they were in control most of the game. And then Michigan has looked very well, beat USC and UCLA in their West Coast swing. And then they come back home and Washington comes to Ann Arbor and they handle their business 91-75. So these 3 teams, to me, along with Illinois, are at the top of the Big Ten race right now. Oregon's right there as well. So to me, these are the teams. And I guess you can kind of throw the Wisconsin Badgers in there as well. The Badgers have won 5 in a row. But their loss, let me pull up their schedule so I'm not flying. So I guess when they lost at home to Michigan, they lost at Marquette, which is no shame because Marquette was number 5 in the country at that point. And then they lost at Illinois by 6. A lot of people thought, okay, well, Wisconsin isn't that good. Well, they now have wins over Butler, Detroit, Iowa, at Rutgers, and Minnesota. So they've taken care of business, and yours truly will be on the 1s and 2s with Paul Burmeister on Peacock tomorrow as Ohio State visits Wisconsin. So Wisconsin is balling as well. So when you look at the Big Ten Conference, if I'm going to say the teams that are separating themselves right now are Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, Illinois, Oregon, and Wisconsin. Now, Indiana is up there at 4-2, but Indiana is so inconsistent to me that I'm reluctant to put them in that upper echelon. So that's who's balling right now in the Big Ten Conference. Who's struggling right now? Northwestern has lost 3 in a row, and they haven't looked good, especially in their last 2 losses at Purdue and at home to Michigan State. UCLA has lost 3 in a row, and Mick Cronin has lost his mind again. And here's the thing. UCLA, they've lost 3 in a row, and they lost at Nebraska where they had control of that game for about 25, 28 minutes of that game, and then Nebraska comes back and takes care of that one. They lose at home by 19 to Michigan, and then they go on the road and get beat by 18 at Maryland, and Mick Cronin's having a tizzy. And then Rutgers has lost 3 in a row, and then Dylan Harper has had a rough case of the flu, lost 9 pounds, and Rutgers looks like they're reeling right now. Steve Pikiell's a defensive-oriented, tough, hard-nosed minded coach, and it's, he's got a bunch of freshmen that he's trying to incorporate. He's got some superstars he's trying to incorporate into his system, and they're having growing pains right now. Lost 3 in a row, and they don't look good in losing. And so those teams are struggling right now, among others. I mean, I'm not going to mention some of the other teams that are at the bottom right now because I don't, Minnesota has dropped 3 in a row. Washington has lost 3 in a row. Rutgers, Northwestern, Penn State have all lost 3 in a row, as has the UCLA Bruins. So I didn't want to mention everybody, but, there you go. Games to watch this week. Tomorrow, Illinois at Indiana. That's going to be interesting because Illinois is going to be seeing fire after their home loss at UC versus USC. Indiana's going to be seeing that same fire after their last loss at Iowa, which was they really were not competitive. A 25-point loss on the road. A little baffling after Indiana was on a 5-game winning streak, having beaten Penn State at the Palestra, which was an impressive victory. They come home, they beat USC by 13, and then they go on the road and lose by 25. So the inconsistency for the Hoosiers continues, but both teams coming off head-scratching losses. It's at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Anytime Illinois and Indiana hook up, it's a good rivalry game. So that'll be a game to watch. I will be covering Ohio State at Wisconsin on Peacock tomorrow. So I won't be able to see that game live, but I will go back and watch the replay of Illinois at Indiana. On Thursday, Maryland at Northwestern. This is a game I'm covering for Big Ten Network. And the reason I said this is one of the games to watch is because Maryland right now is trying to figure out who they are, in my opinion, right? They have some good wins, and then they go and drop, like they'll win a game, and then they lose at Washington. They lose at Oregon, which is no shame, but the Washington loss was a little head-scratcher. They lose at Oregon, and then they come back and blast UCLA at home by 18. Now, this Maryland team is a new bunch, right, with transfers and whatnot, but it's the same. It seems like the same Maryland team that cannot find a way to win on the road. And so that's why I'm really looking forward. So tonight, Maryland hosts Minnesota. Minnesota's trying to find themselves. They've been fairly competitive in some of their games recently, but they got blasted at Wisconsin in their last ball game. So they're trying to find themselves. Maryland, if all things considered, both teams show up, Maryland should win that game. And then, they've got to go to Northwestern, who I just talked about has lost 3 in a row. This is a team that's a veteran-laden team in Northwestern. They've dropped the game already to Michigan State at home. If Northwestern wants to dig their way out of the cellar, they've got to have one of these wins. And so Maryland needs to prove themselves on the road in the Big Ten. Northwestern needs to steal another game at home. I'm not saying it's a must-win for both teams, but if both teams want to stay in the race, they want to stay connected to that upper echelon group, then they've got some work to do. And so you're looking at Northwestern at 1-4 and Maryland at 2-3. These are two teams that a lot of people thought would be in the upper echelon of the Big Ten. Still plenty of time, and every team is going to go through a rough patch. Northwestern's rough patch has been the roughest patch of any Big Ten team that they'll have this season right now. You don't believe me? Let me show you. So Northwestern was at Penn State, then at Purdue. So everybody knows at Penn State is hard to play at, right? So they go to Penn State, they go to Purdue. Purdue's playing as well as anybody in the country right now at home. Anybody in the country at home right now, right? Then they have Michigan State come to their place. They lost. They have Maryland coming to their place. Then they have to go to Michigan. So this is a brutal stretch for the Wildcats, and they've got to get one of these, because expecting Northwestern to go to Michigan right now, as well as Michigan's playing and get a victory, is a tall task. So this is a game that Northwestern really needs to get it home, and Maryland really needs to prove themselves on the road. So that's going to be a fantastic game. I'm glad I'm on that one. Big Ten Network on Thursday. And then Saturday, I've got Purdue at Oregon. Fantastic ball game, because right now, Oregon, since losing to Illinois at home, they seem to have righted the ship and have won 3 in a row. They beat Maryland at home by 4. They went on the road, the game that I covered, and they beat Ohio State by 2. That was a fantastic game. And Jackson Shelstad is starting to show why people vote him in as preseason first-team All-Big Ten. He's playing lights out, and they had a fantastic victory last night at Penn State. That was a really good game, 82-81 Oregon. So the Oregon Ducks really rounding into shape. Purdue comes to them. Oregon doesn't play until Purdue on Saturday at noon on Peacock. Me and my main man, Terry Gannon, my brother from another mother, will be on the 1s and 2s. I can't wait for that game. I've never called a game in Eugene, Oregon, never been to Eugene, Oregon. Looking forward to that trip mightily. That's going to be a fantastic game of 2 of the hottest teams in the league. And then on Sunday, Illinois goes to Michigan State. Many consider 2 of the top teams in the Big Ten. Michigan State, I told you they're on a 9-game win streak. Let's see. Does Michigan State have anybody this week? Let's make sure. Yes. So Michigan State plays at Penn State on, what is that, Wednesday? And then they host Illinois on Sunday. So hopefully for Spartans fans, Michigan State won't be overlooking the Nittany Lions, because Ace Baldwin Jr. was out yesterday, and Penn State almost pulled off the upset against Oregon. So that's a quality Penn State team, especially at home. But I think that'll be the game of the week. Illinois at Michigan State Sunday. I believe that's on that's a CBS game. 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, noon Eastern tip. So those are the games of the week to watch. All right. Let me get to the State of Illini program. People were tripping on the fact that the Illini lost to USC at home by 10. I'm not surprised, because it was the second game in a row that they were without Jakuciounis. And whenever you're without your best player, guys, teams are going to struggle, right? Penn State showed themselves extremely well last night in a 1-point loss without their best player, Ace Baldwin. But it's tough. And USC did some really good things in terms of recognizing how to exploit Illinois defensively. I didn't understand why Brad Underwood didn't play Tomislav Ivicic much. I think that there was a couple times that Desmond Claude Euro-stepped Ivicic in the first half and got to the rim, and Tomislav got caught up and couldn't defend well or something, and I think Brad may have lost confidence in him. And then USC was going smaller. They played really 3 forwards up front, and they did a fantastic job. I tip my hat to Eric Musselman and USC. They balled out. It was a 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tip-off. They're worried about their families back in the Los Angeles area, and they came out. They had more effort than Illinois. That's what it was. They were supposed to be the tired team, the team that was traveling, the team that was worried about their family. And what did Eric Musselman do? He used the Los Angeles fire situation, that tragic situation that's going on right now in Los Angeles, and he used that as motivation. And those guys played their tails off for the residents of Los Angeles to give them 2 hours of respite of what they're dealing with. And so I know Illini fans were upset, but I was quite happy for the Trojan fan base and the Trojans. It's not going to make a difference for the Illini in losing this game. It's not going to hurt their resume. It's not going to do anything to their Big Ten chances. Nothing. It's a home loss. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't look great on your resume, but Illinois, it's not gonna affect their seeding, their resume, nothing. They've got so many more chances in the Big Ten to get that loss back that it's not going to have any long-term effect, right? The low effort on Saturday, and you're taking a team that's at the bottom of the Big Ten standings for granted. That's what happens in conferences like this. When you're not ready to play, and in the back of your mind, you're not taking your opponent seriously, you get your ass kicked. And that's what happened. And so, for me, I'm going to take my analyst hat off, and I'm going to put my former Illinois hat on. To me, I was ecstatic because I know what Brad Underwood's about to do. I know what he's going. I know what kind of practices those guys are getting ready to have. And trust me, more than likely you won't see a low effort like that the rest of the season. Not from this team, because they had been really good in terms of their effort up until this point. And USC battled on the glass. That was a big, big reason, I think, why they won the game. Illinois is the best rebounding team in the country. And USC battled them neck and neck on the glass. And what do I mean by that? So USC had 9 offensive rebounds and 37 rebounds total. Illinois had 10 offensive rebounds and 34 rebounds total. Illinois doesn't lose rebound battles. If they're not the best rebounding team in the country, they're one of the best, right? And so USC battled on the glass, and the rebounding is a sign of effort. That's really what it is. And USC, being a little undersized, came in with a outstanding game plan, and Desmond Claude was outstanding. 30 plus points. He lived in the paint. And USC got some threes to drop, right? It was just one of those times when all of a sudden the Trojans start balling and they look up and they're in the game in the second half. Now these guys got their head up. They're confident. Threes are dropping. Like the Trojans, they shot 5 of 14 from 3. And the Illini shot 7 of 32. Right? The Trojans are 52% from the field. The Illini were 37%. So the Illini weren't bad from 2. They were 16 of 30 from 2. That's not bad. That's over 50%. But that 7 for 31, that did them in. Plus, the Illini got to the line 11 more times than USC did. Right? They forced 14 USC turnovers. Illinois had 15. That's kind of a wash. Right? USC fouled more than Illinois. But Desmond Claude had 31. Wesley Yates had 15. St. Thomas, who was a dynamic scorer, didn't do much. He had 9 points, 8 rebounds. But the guys, Abo, he had 9 points, 4 rebounds. He was outstanding. Rashawn Agee was outstanding. 13 points, 8 rebounds. Those guys, they just played harder than the Illini. And so, I'm not, it doesn't bother me one bit that the Illini got beaten at home like that, because I know what's coming, and you won't see an effort like that again. It may not happen until late February. They might get a game where they're just tired, they're just dead. They had no excuse to be effortless Saturday morning. There's no excuse, and so I don't think you're going to see that again. And if you Illini fans, don't be doom and gloom. Don't look at Brad and say, why didn't you make adjustments? It's just one of those games where they got their butts kicked. They weren't ready to play, and they got beat. And, the fact that USC was. I've been on the end of this before. In the CBA, which used to be the minor league in the NBA, we played 5 nights in a row with travel. We were on the road, and that 5th night, you thought, okay, these guys are going to be dead. They're going to be exhausted. Not going to be. I'll never forget it. We were at Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'll never forget it. And those guys, the Fort Wayne Fury, they came out talking crap because they were like, "Oh, y'all not going to be able to play tonight." We kicked their behinds because what you learn as a basketball player as you get older. I was in professional back by then. I don't know if I had learned it in college, but I never struggled with effort. Harold Bardo instilled that at me in Carbondale. I never struggled with effort. You never saw me come out and play without effort because I didn't know you could play basketball without effort. That's a new phenomenon for me because that was never an issue for me. But 5th game in 5 nights, and we went out and pasted them because we were mentally tougher. And so this will be an opportunity, a lesson, some adversity for Illinois to get mentally tougher than they already are. This is a mentally tough team. I like this Illinois team. I really do. I like their chemistry. I like how hard they play. Obviously, with them being the best rebounding team in the country, 9 times out of 10, they give the effort, right? So it's not doom and gloom, guys. I have a feeling they're going to bounce back at Indiana. You might see a performance that may surprise you. I'm not going to be surprised. Indiana's going to be motivated to come back and play hard as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois wins that game by double digits. Wouldn't be surprised at all. So don't lose the faith, Illini fans. It's not it's not doom and gloom. It's one game at home. Doesn't look good because it's it's USC, but don't lose the faith. Go to BardosTribe.com if you want to be part of the inner circle that is Bardo's Breakdown. Go to BardosTribe.com to get your free copy of the new guide to the Big Ten, or you can text me 312-847-2739. All right. Thank you for your patience. Let's get to your questions. What's up, M. Brotz? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Philip, any news on KJ injury? How serious is it? Now with gambling in effect, when you guys will see lower body injury, upper body injury, these teams don't have to be forthcoming on the seriousness or the specificity. They don't have to tell you exactly what's going on. They don't. Some programs still do, but most programs, they don't have to tell you what's going on. You guys know it's a forearm situation. The shots that we saw from when he was warming up, when he couldn't play, his arm looked really red and inflamed. I think that was from when they were trying to work on it to get some circulation going to kind of relieve it. I know about as much as you all do. And so Brad said it's day to day. I'd be surprised if he didn't play at Indiana. If he doesn't play at Indiana, then we know it's a little bit more serious of an issue than maybe we think. But that's all they're telling us. And so I'm not sure, Philip, but thank you for that question. Dwight Miller. What's going on, Dwight Miller? You guys in Champaign area may remember Mr. Miller, who owned several McDonald's franchises in the central Illinois area. And now he has moved to sunnier pasture. I'm not going to give up all his business, but I'm going to tell you what. Dwight Miller's living his life. He's living his best life. If you guys want to know what to do when you make a transition out of your working life into your next phase, go talk to Dwight Miller. Because the things that he's doing, he's my hero. I'm trying to be like Dwight Miller, y'all. Straight up. Y'all think I'm playing. I'm dead serious. Dwight is doing it. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Oh, Dory, don't say that. Don't say that. I know you're playing. Guys, Sean Morris is a dear friend of mine. there are not many people on the planet that are more righteous, that are more in tune. Like Sean Morris can read the room as well as anybody. And he's a big dude. Sean's like 6'8", 6'9". He's a big guy. He's got presence. But he's soft-spoken. He's humble. He's one of the best people I've ever met. And he hosted me on my visit to Northwestern. That's why I almost went there. He was one of the big reasons why I almost went there. So I hope you're playing, Dory, because that's my guy. And he's going to do more Illinois games. So let's hope he's not the kiss of death. But good to see you, Dory. Thanks for tuning in. Chuck, what's good, Chuck? Thank you, man, for tuning in. Good to see you. Who baller scoop? You know, I think Michigan State is playing as well as anybody in the conference. But you can't take anything away from Michigan either now. I mean, Michigan State has won 9 in a row. But with that being said, let's compare. So Michigan State has won 9 in a row. Michigan's won 5 in a row. All right, let's look at Michigan State's 9 in a row, who they play, right? North Carolina. Okay, legit. I mean, they're not North Carolina of old. They're down. They're a little bit down this year, but okay, North Carolina, Minnesota. They pasted Nebraska. That was a heck of a win. Oakland, Florida Atlantic. These are all double-digit wins. Western Michigan, double-digit win. Then they go to Ohio State, very impressive, 69-62. They blast Washington like they're supposed to at home. They go to Northwestern and get a double-digit win, right? So remember those names I just said, okay? Now let's look at Michigan's schedule and their last 9 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, let's look at Michigan's schedule. At Wisconsin, a victory by 3 points. Iowa by 2 points at home. They held on to beat Iowa. They lose to Arkansas by 2 points. They lose to Oklahoma, who was 14th in the country, by 1 point. They beat Purdue Fort Wayne. They beat Western. They pasted Western Kentucky. They go to USC and win by double digits. They go to UCLA and win by double digits. And they're at home versus Washington. So in their last 9, there's 7 of their last 9, and their losses are to Arkansas by 2 points and Oklahoma by 1 point. Right? So, yes, Michigan State has a 9-game winning streak. However, I would say that Michigan has played the tougher schedule. That's just me. So, if I had the eye test right now, I'm going Michigan State. I said all that. Who baller scoop? You make a great point. Michigan State looks good right now. Looks really good right now. Chad Alt, why do you think KJ's injury seems self-inflicted? I don't understand. You think he was playing too many video games or something? Can you expand on what you mean by that? Tyson, what's going on, man? Here's the deal, Tyson, and this lets me get into my Mick Cronin rant here. Tyson, I don't know if you've played basketball or you look like a strapping young man, so I can't tell whether you're college age or out of college or whatever. But if you're at a job or if you're in college and you're on a team and a coach throws you under the bus in the media, it's one thing to challenge your team behind closed doors. It's one thing to embarrass your players behind closed doors. It's one thing to embarrass your assistant coaches behind closed doors. It's another thing to go to the media and throw everybody under the bus except yourself as head coach, right? one of the quotes Mick Cronin said in his rant was that he's almost got 500 wins and he's 53 years old. What does that have to do with anything? Like, Mick Cronin he doesn't take any responsibility for the way his teams play. Last I checked, I think he's making $6.1 million a year. And he hasn't had a check bounce yet. He recruited all these players. He brought all these assistant coaches in. He wasn't forced to take these guys. He's not forced to take these players. And yet, you complain about the officials. Jeffrey Anderson might be the best official in college basketball. He's certainly one of the top 5. Jeffrey Anderson throws you out of the game. You get tossed by Jeffrey Anderson. Now, Jeffrey Anderson will toss fans, but that's the first time I've ever seen him toss a coach. I see these officials all the time. I see them at all the games. I talk to a lot of them. I get to know them. I know where they live. I know about their families. I get to know these guys because they're human. Jeffrey Anderson, high knees is what you all may know him as. The black official that runs high knees. He's one of the best in the business. And you get tossed from him. And the thing is, Mick wanted to get tossed because he didn't want to stay in there with his assistant coaches and his players while they were getting pasted at Maryland. That's weak sauce, Tyson. That's weak sauce. Now, can they get it together? I'm not sure. But another Big Ten coach who I'm not going to put his T out there, told me that Mick Cronin did this before. But he had Jaime Jaquez on his team. He had some dogs on his team. And they didn't wilt. They just said, oh, okay, coach, screw you. We're going to ball for us. And it turned into a Final Four team. But they didn't do it for Mick Cronin because he went off on them too. And I think that he thinks he's going to go off on these guys and they're going to respond similar to the way that Jaime Jaquez's group did. And you're taking a risk because you may not have a guy that is as tough as Jaquez, that is tough as Tiger Campbell. These dudes were tough. You see what Jaime Jaquez is doing with the Miami Heat? And so, will they get it together? I don't know. Tyson, I don't know. But I don't like when coaches do that. When they put the blame everywhere else, but then when they win the game, he's going to talk about how good his strategy was and how good he prepared his teams. He took zero onus for the loss. It's the players. It's the assistant coaches. It's the officiating. Well, Mick, what about you? You're the head coach. So that's my take on it, Tyson. So thank you. Thank you for letting me get in and get in my rant. Hey, William, good to see you, man. Oh, thanks, Chuck. Ginocchio. All right. Thank you for that alliteration spelling of your last name. I appreciate that. Yeah, William, there are powers that be that don't want me announcing Illinois games. I'm just going to say it. I was trying to be politically correct and not say that, but there are powers that be that don't want me announcing a bunch of Illinois games. So it was never in my control, but it's kind of funny because these networks, they try to schedule our games in regionally where we live to where that they can save money on travel. And the second closest place to me outside of Northwestern is Champaign. Purdue is it's kind of equidistant, and Madison is a little bit further than Purdue in Illinois, but Illinois is the second closest venue to me. And yet, you know, I got a game later on in the year, but there are folks that don't want me to call Illinois games, so I don't have any control over that. I thank you because I take that as a compliment, but I'm just keeping it real because you guys are giving up your time to tune in to Bardo's Breakdown, so I'm gonna give you the real. So, but thank you, William. Thanks for tuning in. Chuck Genokio, my man. If you guys want me to know how to say your name properly, do exactly what Chuck did. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. Oh, good question, Chad. The thing with Illinois that they're going to have to figure out is how do they generate offense if they can't dominate the offensive glass and they're not hitting threes? How do they do it? Now, again, guys, KJ didn't play. So when you don't have your best player, KJ makes things very easy on his teammates. Very easy. Ask Ivicic. Ask Morez Johnson. Ask Gibbs Lawhorn. Ask those guys who are recipients of those passes that KJ's giving them. So USC was the perfect storm. They battled on the glass. They caught Illinois on an off-shooting day without their best player. So, Chad, to me, in that game, what could Illinois have done in the second half to overcome what USC is doing? They could go zone, but I don't think Illinois plays zone. I don't think they don't really want to play zone. They want to dictate through their physicality on the defensive end in a man-to-man situation. Now, could have zone have helped them? Sure, because USC only took 14 threes. They don't take a lot of threes. They want to get downhill. And could that have kept USC out of the paint a little bit? Possibly. But it's not something that you want to throw in if you haven't practiced. And I don't think Illinois practices a lot of zone defense. That might be something they may want to consider, but I don't think they do that a lot. And so that points to the stubbornness of Brad Underwood, because sometimes he gets stubborn like that. He doesn't want to adjust. And, you know, sometimes you lose if you don't adjust. So, could they have gone zone? Maybe. Possibly. Would it have been a different outcome? Maybe. Maybe Claude wasn't able to live in the paint, maybe, if you go zone. I'm not sure. But that could have been one adjustment. To me, leaving Ivicic in the game a little bit longer, I was kind of surprised that, that he didn't play. Let me make sure, because it was a feeling I got while I was watching the game. Let me see. Yeah. Ivicic had 0 fouls. He played 17 minutes. Right? So, I don't know. 17 minutes, 3 rebounds. I mean, Morez came in and got 8 rebounds. He did his work on the glass. But when you take Ivicic out of the game, you're taking away your size at the rim. He's 1 of 3 from 3, so 1 of 3 is not bad. He only got 3 attempts, right? But I don't know. Brad saw something that I was like, that was a head scratcher for me. Why he only played 17 minutes? I didn't get that. And obviously, Brad and his staff saw something early in the game that they didn't like, and they chose to go a different direction. But those would be some of the things that maybe I would have done, Chad. Let's see. Morez and Ivicic missed some easy right under the hoop. Okay, that happens. Morez is a freshman. He's learning. Okay. You lose your confidence if you're a starter and you play 17 minutes. You can only do what your coaches allow you to do. He only got 17 minutes. Let's look at the Penn State game. He got 24 minutes. He was only 2 of 6. Now, it didn't matter because they blew Penn State out. But Ivicic is not really getting – he's not getting a ton of minutes because, one, he's splitting some of those minutes with Marez Johnson up front. And Marez has been playing better. So Brandon staff want to give Marez some minutes. I don't think Ivicic lost his confidence. I just think that he hasn't gotten as much opportunity. Carol says, Cats jinx the Illini. Guys, I work with Andy Katz, and you got to understand, Andy's a guy that he gets excited because he's a basketball lifer. There's not many people who love the game as much as Andy Katz. And when he gets on a narrative, he gets excited. And he comes from a print background, Carol. So Andy Katz is used to writing headlines that are attention grabbers. And so he makes statements like that grabs attention. And so, everybody jumped on the Illini bandwagon after that Oregon game. He wasn't the only one. So don't think that Andy jinxed anything. He gets excited and he likes headlines. But there's nothing wrong with the Illini. Nothing wrong with him. Deuces. Well, the lack of effort wasn't due to KJ not playing, but everything else was. Guys, you can't lose your best player, a lottery pick, and it not affect your team. So let's look at the other top Big Ten teams, right? Who's the best player for Michigan State? Okay, you guys put it in the comments. Who do you think is the best player right now for Michigan State? So Jay Nakins is the only player that's averaging double digits. But they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They got 9 guys averaging 5 points or more. So they're doing it by committee. Jay Nakins is averaging 14 a game. I don't think he's their best player. I don't. I actually think that Jace Richardson, the freshman, is Michigan State's best player. But let's take the leading scorer. Let's take Jay Nakins away from Michigan State. Do you think that affects the way that they play? A 14-point per game score? You think that affects the way they play? Of course it does. Who's Michigan's best player? Is it Vlad Golden or is it Danny Wolf? Take one of those away. Take one of the 7-footers away. You think Michigan has to adjust the way that they play? Of course they do. Of course they do. Take Braden Smith away from Purdue. Take Braden Smith away from Purdue. You think Purdue doesn't adjust the way that they play? Of course they do. So, when you take the best player off a really good team, really good teams find a way to adjust, and Illinois did against Penn State, but they came out flat against USC. But the fact that KJ didn't play had a lot to do with it, guys. You could take the best player off any team in the country. Take Janai Broome off Auburn and watch what happens. They're going to find out because he hurt his ankle. And he doesn't need surgery, but he may miss a game or two. Watch how Auburn's affected by that. It always affects you if you lose your best player. Dang, Pooh. We were just talking about that. I think Jace Richardson is Michigan State's best player. That's what I think. Let's see. Hey, Robert, I think so as well. Thanks for tuning in. I think the Illini will be fine. There's ebbs and flows in every season. It's a grind, guys. It's a long season. It's a long season. So I agree with you, Robert. Thanks for tuning in. Well, Chad, I mean, they didn't. It wasn't on the road. It was at home, actually. If you're referring to the USC game, they lost at home. That wasn't on the road. And teams aren't going to shoot great. I think they're not going to look. They shot 16 of 29 from 3 against Oregon, and Brian Fisk, the Oregon assistant, reminded me Illinois started 0 of 7 from 3 that game, and let me not say that because I want to be sensitive to what's going on. They got hot. I had to be careful. I was about to use a phrase that we use in sports, but under the current circumstance, I need to be careful and choose my words carefully. They got hot. So this is a team that can heat up quickly. And like we saw against USC, the shots just don't fall. That happens to every good shooting team. I wouldn't look too much into it. Curtis, I didn't see what Barnes said. But yeah, I just went on my Cronin rant, so you guys heard that. Yes, Carol. Humrick House, when I was saying that I made a suggestion, I believe it was last week, or that if he wasn't going to shoot the basketball and make plays, that they probably need to put Riley in his place. Well, Ben's balling now. He's doing the things that we saw at Evansville. And you're right, Carol. I don't know. Some players get really good over the Christmas break because you don't have class. You can really focus on ball. Some players they start looking at their situation and think about transferring. But Ben obviously found his confidence. He's back. He's booty balling guys now. He's shooting the 3. He shot 3 of 9 from USC. Didn't have his best shooting game, but he's raising with he's rising up with confidence, and that's what you like to see. So yes, Carol, you're spot on with that. Illinois' next game is at Illinois plays at Indiana tomorrow. M. Brotz, good question. I know that the young man from Northern Colorado. Hold on. Who I believe. Wow, I thought he was. Oh man, since they've gotten into the conference, St. Thomas, he was their leading scorer. Now he's their 5th leading scorer. But St. Thomas played at Northern Colorado. He's seen plenty of snow. So I know that he's one that has seen plenty of snow. Yeah, Philip, my classmate and tribe member, Laura Fox, had let me see if I can find this. She had a statistic about Illinois and these early games. Let me see if I can find it really quickly, because it was a interesting statistic that got quite a few comments. No, that's not it. Let me go over here and find this, because it's a really good. I don't know where she got it, but it's a really good thing here. If I can find it. Here it is. Got it. Illinois is now 2-11 in contests that begin in the morning since 2021 season and have lost 9 straight. Thank you, Laura Fox, for that. Yeah. So let me read that again. Illinois is now 2-11 in contests that begin in the morning since the 2021 season and have lost 9 straight. That's a little concerning. Don't know what that is. But great stat, Laura. Thank you. And not sure why. But they need but let's do this. Let's go and look at the Illini schedule and see. Oh boy. At Michigan State, 11 a.m. local. That's noon. Okay. That's one. They got a noon game at home when they host Ohio State, February 2nd. And then that's it. They've got a 2:45 p.m. game at Michigan, but that's afternoon. That's not early. Anything noon or early is what we're looking at. So I think it's the at Michigan State is going to be different because it's the hottest team in the Big Ten. They're top 15 ranked. They're 12 right now. Michigan State is. I don't think they have a problem getting motivated for that. Now, the Ohio State game, depending on what Ohio State does, because they're struggling a little bit, that's February 2nd. Depending on what Ohio State does here, that'll be interesting. So we'll see. Fly line, fly. I don't know why that's the case, but Lord had a great stat there that we can share. Dory, good point. I thought Kylan, Bam Boswell, I thought he played hard. Draven played hard. Merez, Jake. I thought Ben played hard. His shots didn't fall, but he played hard. But they just didn't get the overall team effort. There were some guys that played hard, but they didn't get the team effort that we've grown accustomed to seeing. Chuck makes a good point. Good point. I mean, I need to go back and look. There's a layups miss or layups, and I guess I could go back and look at the advanced stats on or the different stats on that. Good point. I mean, you take away the threes, they shot 50% from two. So it's a valid point. You guys are pointing out that the Illini missed a lot of layups. So that's going to be something that's something that they'll work on. Yeah, I think it's 2-11, Kevin. That's the stat that I got from Laura. I think it's 2-11. Ooh, now Chad, this is an interesting. This is interesting. I wouldn't say European players are more mentally tough. I would say the guys, especially like Igor Demon, I think that's how you pronounce it. Igor Demon, the young man at BYU that Illinois was looking at. He's had some professional experience. Jakuciounis has had some professional experience, as has Ivicic. I wouldn't necessarily say they're more mentally tough. I would say that they're more ingrained in the grind. The grind doesn't bother. They seem to be a little bit more consistent than maybe freshmen that are coming from the United States, because these true freshmen haven't had a pro experience. They haven't been put into a pro experience where these guys didn't have to worry about going to class. They're just balling. That's a different mentality, and it helps to get guys into that grind a little bit easier than when you have academic requirements in addition to playing basketball, if that makes sense. That's a good question, though, Chad. Nate Biddle's hair is brittle. Phillip, he's my new favorite player in the Big Ten. Nate Biddle is a center for Oregon, very talented, very skilled. At Ohio State, he's at the free throw line, and the students at Ohio State said bald spot when he's at the free throw line, and he's running back chuckling. He's laughing. So me and Kevin Kugler asked him at halftime. I said, Nate, he came over. I said, Nate, what were they talking about? And he started laughing. He said, man, they think I don't know that I'm losing my hair. He said, man, really? They got to do better than that. Oh, me and Kevin Kugler were falling out laughing, right? So we go on the air and we tell the story. And so you guys will hear me every now and then as there's a timeout and we're going to break. They may show a replay of a play that just happened. They showed a replay of Nate Biddle, and I said, hair loss has never looked so good. And people were dying, laughing on Twitter about that, right? So Phillip, I think Phillip's referring to that, talking about Nate Biddle and his hair. But I love the kid. He's a gregarious young man, fun. He doesn't take himself too seriously. But thanks for that, Phillip. Well, fly, line, fly. I think KJ planned to play against Penn State, but his arm wouldn't let him. So we'll have to see. I'm sure he wanted to play. And the thing I like about him, one of the things I really like about him, fly, line, I fly, is that the last two games, man, he's standing on the bench. He's standing because he can't sit. He's trying to talk to his teammates, and he does a good job of going in. I notice how he'll go and get Will Riley and try to keep him encouraged, try to pat him on the back, try to give him some love. This kid, man, he's special. And he's standing up because he wants so badly to play. So I don't think it has anything to do with him wanting to play or not wanting to play. I just don't think his arm was allowing him to. But I love what I saw from that. Kevin. Ooh, most impactful transfer in the Big Ten up to this point. Man. Jakuciounis isn't a transfer, so you can't put him in that category. Transfer would have to be on one of the better teams. So Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue. Purdue doesn't have any transfers. I'd say Vlad Golden or Danny Wolf of Michigan. You pick one of those two. I think that those would be probably the most impactful transfers so far in the Big Ten, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Illinois is a potential Elite Eight team. I think they have the potential to get to the Elite Eight. I certainly think they're a second weekend team. So, yeah, I think that they have the potential for Elite Eight. Curtis. Now, it's funny. I did play in San Antonio briefly. But you got to remember, I'm 56. So that was a long time ago. I was in my early 20s when I was in San Antonio. That's 30 years ago. That city's changed a lot. So I wouldn't be able to tell you where to go, Curtis, but thanks for bringing up good memories there. I'd be surprised if UCLA didn't bounce back and win this game. Rutgers is a tough place to go win, but it's not quite the rack because they haven't been winning games like they have been in the past. So I would expect UCLA to win that game, but it'd be interesting to see. What's up, Kenny Kim? Good to see you, bro. Um, Luke Goody's been balling. He's been in the starting lineup since Malik Renew's been injured. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see, Kenny. I know a lot of Illini fans they're going to watch the game anyway, but they'll be really interested to see how Luke Goody looks. Now here's the thing. I like this that Brad does this because he's trying to protect his players. He's not doing the Mick Cronin. So I was scratching my head at first when he did this, but now if I compare him to Mick Cronin, I kind of like him doing that, right? Because he's putting the blame on his shoulders. He's not blaming the players. And let's be honest, guys, even though these guys are getting NIL money, they're still 18 to 22 years old. They still need to be led. It's still developmental stage. These guys are getting better and better. And the fact that Brad doesn't throw his players under the bus, I like that. So, whereas I was wondering about that at first, fly, but now after seeing Mick Cronin, I'm okay with Brad doing that. I'm okay with that. Chad, I don't know. I think right now programs can get Lloyd of London insurance premiums on insurance contracts on players now that can hedge against a career-altering or career-threatening injury. I'd be shocked if Illinois didn't have some sort of insurance for KJ. So I don't think Illinois is cryptic. I just think that they're doing what every other program is doing, and that they don't have to divulge injury information because that helps gamblers. And I think it has more to do with that than Illinois being cryptic. Are you even asking this question, Ray? Like, have you looked at a mock draft board? He's at the top of every one of them. Cooper Flagg is one, but then it's Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, or flipped, depending on which mock draft you see. I haven't seen him under a top 3 pick. Curtis, I have the right to use Flying Illini, but yeah, there are other people getting those T-shirts out there, and why not? It's an iconic brand. No, at this point, Curtis, no coaches are holding back. They're trying to win games. They're trying to get to trying to win a conference title. And look, 3 teams in the Big Ten Conference won't make the Big Ten Conference tournament. That's a lot of pressure. And they have to do it for tournament purposes. You can't get 18 teams in a tournament. It just doesn't work. So, no, I don't think any teams are holding back. Oregon is a bad team that wins lucky. F your mother. I think you're going to have to start turning that finger back on you with that statement. You got to be kidding me. They beat Texas A&M, who was 20th at the time. They beat a really good San Diego State team, and they beat Alabama, who's top 10. They lost to Illinois, got blasted, and they've got road wins at Ohio State and at Penn State. No, they're not a bad team. They're actually a good team. Let's see. Game time decision, Indiana Sports Connection. Weak side help was not there. Maybe. But USC had something to do with that. No, Indiana Sports Connection. I think the video you saw was after the trainers were working on his arm to try to get it loosened up. And that redness that you saw, I think, was from them trying to apply something to loosen his muscles or something up. We'll see. We'll see. I hope it's not serious, but we'll see. No, flopping won't leave the game until they're penalized for it. Until guys really get penalized for it and lose games by flopping, it won't change. Boy, man, Purdue's been on a heater since they lost to Auburn. Period. They've been killing teams. Purdue and Michigan State, to me, and Michigan right behind them, and then Wisconsin, winners of 5 in a row. Those are the teams that are playing in Oregon, right in there, winners of 3 in a row. Those are the best. Those teams are playing the best to me right now. And Illinois is right behind them. They had a tough loss at home. I think they'll right the ship at Indiana tomorrow. I really do. Kevin, that's a good opinion. I agree. And to me, I think it's something that you don't have to do it a lot, but you need to have it in your arsenal because you might get in foul trouble. You might find a team that, like USC, was living in the paint. You might want to try something to try to keep them out of the paint. So I just think it's something good to have in your arsenal because down the stretch in the regular season of a conference race, in a conference tournament situation, NCAA tournament situation, to be able to throw a snag in an opponent's team's approach, I think is always helpful. That's not unusual when you're a team that's playing a ranked team on the road. Illinois is going to get everybody's best shot, guys, because a lot of people think they're the best team in the Big Ten. So they're going to get everybody's best shot. That's what happens. Thomas, you think Ivicic doesn't play defense? Okay. Maybe I need to go back and look then. I thought he was a decent defender. Maybe not. Good point. Good to see you, Thomas, tribe member. If you guys want to join the inner circle that is Bardo's Breakdown, text me 312-847-2739 or go to bardostribe.com, BARDOS tribe.com, and get your free copy of the Guide to the Big Ten. Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, Jakuciounis. I've seen Will Riley in mock drafts. I've seen Ivicic in late first round mock drafts. There's another. I'm thinking Danny Wolf may get a look. Jace Richardson is on. I saw him on a mock draft in the first round. Jace Richardson of Michigan State. I've seen several players. So, yeah, there's going to be some players in the Big Ten that'll be drafted. No, I won't help Thomas, but it's a grind. It's a grind of the season. And the Big Ten winner this year may have 4 or 5 losses. So they've got time. They'll be okay. Kenya, Jeremiah Fears is balling. And guys, remember, he was going to Illinois until Jakuciounis signed. He was coming to Illinois. He's balling. He's on draft boards as a possible lottery pick. I saw him on a couple boards that have him in late lottery territory. He's balling. Bradfield, well, they didn't adjust. It didn't seem like they adjusted very well. I'll give you that. Clog his lanes, make his looks tough, just layups, man. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Cannot disagree with that. I haven't heard them, Carol. But I know Barnhart is a pro, and I know Dion loves the Illini, so I'm not surprised. Yeah. So in hindsight, Brad may be seeing what I'm seeing. Like, I'm kind of scratching my head about Ivicic, why he didn't play more, but maybe we'll see him play more against Indiana. Can Illinois beat Indiana without Jakuciounis? Yes. Will they? I don't know. But can they? Yes. Kevin, I agree. I think he's their best player. I totally agree. Curtis, they're not going to have to worry about that game. There's enough on the line. The Breslin Center will be rocking. They'll be fine. Yep. I agree, Kevin. Oh yeah, flying line that fly. That was a crushing loss. And was it in regulation or overtime? It was because it was a double overtime loss by 1 point. And Minnesota missed 14 free throws at home. They lost by 1 in double overtime. And Caden Betts, a redshirt sophomore that doesn't play a lot, he got pressed into action late in the game because Dawson Garcia fouled out. And he fouled John Mobley Jr., and Minnesota was up 2. He thought they were up 3. So he had a teenage brain fart. Fouls Mobley Jr. He goes and hits the 2 free throws. They go to double overtime and they lose. So that was a tough loss. And then they got blasted at Wisconsin in their last game. Will Minnesota win another game? I think they will, but I'm not sure how many because the league is deep and good. Kenya, you think so? I think all these games are physical. All these games have been physical. Interesting. I have to pay attention to that. Tracy, no doubt about it. The physicality and the way, excuse me, that the Boilers are defending. Michigan State's defending well right now, but nobody's defending better than Purdue. Not right now. Those guys, they're playing their best basketball right now. Yeah, Kenneth. We'll see. We'll see. You don't need a shoot around, Kevin. You can get up and go downstairs in the hotel and do a walkthrough, and then get to the gym a little bit earlier, so you can give you guys a chance to get some extra shots up. You don't need a walkthrough. You can do something though. Hey, Carol, there you go, Carol. There you go, Kevin. Okay. Well, we'll have to fact check that then. We'll fact check that. Okay, now we're voodoo now. We're walking zombies. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. That's right, Brats. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, guys. This is good content. You're not going to get this anywhere else. Thank you, Brats. I appreciate you, my man. No, not yet. I need to see a little bit more Big Ten play. Maybe in a week or two, I'll give you that. Claudia, I know it sounds simple to go ahead and double team a player like that, but if you don't practice that, it's you can do things at the NBA level sometimes. In certain situations, you can just go ahead and say, all right, guys, let's do this. And they usually will get it. You can't do that with college players. Their brain short circuits sometimes. And you can't do that. If you haven't practiced it, you can't do it. So the best adjustment, I think, Claudia, would have been to try zone, but I don't know that the Illini practice zone. And so I'm not sure what they could have done in that scenario. Thank you, William. Appreciate that. Well, David, I don't think it happens every game, but again, now Illinois is considered by many to be the best team in the Big Ten Conference. So when you're considered league-wide to be the best team, then you're going to get everybody's best game. That's it. And they're getting everybody's best shot. That's hard to do now. When you're the hunted, instead of being the hunter, you have to have a totally different mindset. And you gotta remember this is still a young Illinois team that's still finding themselves. So I think that will wake them up. That USC loss will wake them up. Brad won't have to, remind them that, guys, Washington Huskies are the last place team in the conference right now. If you're not ready to play them, they can beat you. And now the Illini know that. Carol says Danny Wolf is the most impactful Big Ten transfer so far. I can't deny that. Fly Illini Fly says the same thing. Kevin McDuffie, Boswell has been a top 3 impact transfer. That's a strong opinion. I don't know that I agree with it, but he's been strong for the Illini. I'll give you that. Curtis, I don't know if Lords of London is still around, but there are companies that will insure athletes for millions. So I don't know if they're still around, but there will be something like that. I've not seen Dane Danger, but I'm sure he's balling because I was always a fan of him and was always surprised why he didn't get more playing time here. I don't think they should press more. And I don't think you should compare this team to the Flying Illini because it's a much different team. This version of the Fighting Illini has size. They've got elite shooting, which we didn't have. They've got traditional bigs, which we didn't have. And they play a totally different style. So I think they're a very good defensive team, and I don't think they need to press because the way they rebound the basketball is part of defense. Defensive rebounding, they're the best in the country. So I don't think they need to press. They just had an off shooting night. They were without their best player, and an opposing player got hot. I don't think Coleman Hawkins was ever really going to be an NBA player. Lower body wise, I think that he has a knee issue that may be degenerative. So I'm not sure that he was going to really get an honest crack at the NBA. Maybe I'm wrong. But lower body wise, I don't know that he can build enough strength to play at the next level because he would have to increase his athleticism, which would require him to get a lot stronger in his base. And I'm not sure he can do that. Oh, Chris, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Share this with people you think would like the content. Michigan State pushes the balls every chance they get. Don't look at analytics. Go watch the games. Go watch how Michigan State plays. Make or miss, they're pushing the ball. Jeremy Fears is doing a fantastic job of pushing the rock. Trey Holloman is doing a fantastic job of pushing the rock. That's what Michigan State does. And that's why people are loving them this year, because they're back to being the Michigan State Spartans of old. Well, Carol, if he only plays 17 minutes, he's not going to get a chance to make many layups. You got to have time on the floor. If you're getting single-digit attempts, then it's tough to get going. Carol's not the only one that thinks that. Chuck thinks the same thing. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll see if Ivicic can improve his finishing around the bucket, because more than likely he's going to be matched up against Umar Bardo. So we'll see. Carol, it's unusual to have that many players averaging 5. Michigan State has 9 players averaging 5 points or better. So it's unusual. That's not common. The guy that James Coomer is a tribe member. The player that has impressed me the most, I think, exceeded expectations. Morez Johnson is in there. I knew Jakuciounis was good. I didn't think he's going to be this good, this fast. He's a guy that, to me, that's defied expectations. Good to see you, James. Thanks for tuning in. I like Carol. I like Trey as well. I thought his offense wasn't there the last game, but he's still been aggressive. I like that. Thank you, Carol, for the update. UCLA 30, Rutgers, or UCLA 33, Rutgers 30. Hey, Chad, blame it on the TV networks. That's who dictates these early games. So, all right, guys. Man, it's been a great show. Thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, like, share, and subscribe to Bardo Media on YouTube. It really helps the growth of the channel. And I want to get some other Big Ten fans on here that want to talk Big Ten and have an opportunity to converse like we do. I don't think there's any other platform that goes live that allows Big Ten fans to chime in like we do. And if there is, let me know, because I'd like to check it out as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. Enjoy the Big Ten play this week. Check in with me. I'm going to try to give smaller updates between these shows, depending on the timing of. I don't think I can do a post-game react tomorrow night because my game starts at 8. So it'll be a late night for me. But check Wednesday. I think I'll be able to do a short recap of what I saw after watching the replay of Illinois at Indiana. All right. Thank you, guys. Love you all. Have a great rest of your week. And until next time, holla, y'all.